Hi, so now we're gonna read a book. Okay, so let's get started. On Thursday, Mom's only been going to school for a few days now, but she acting like a completely different person when she gets home at night. She's always in a good mood. She doesn't even get mad if I haven't finished my chores. Mom says she's happy because she's been challenged at school, and the rest of us should try learn new things too. But I have a theory when it's come to sort of things. I figure your brain only has so much space in it, and by the time you're 8 or 9 years old, it's all filled up. So if you want to learn something new after that, you have to make room by getting rid of something old. I figure that's why school gets harder for the further you go. Every since I learned about every time information comes in, your brain automatically clears out something else to make space. To prove my point, ever since I learned about photosynthesis in science, I haven't been able to remember how long to division. Question 1. What is 365 divided 67 and divided by 12? Remember to show your work. No clue. I just wish you could choose what your brain would get rid of. I've completely forgotten the cheat codes for Twist Wizard, but I still have a really clear memory of the time I scared Dad when he came out of the shower. And believe me, he'll pay good money to wipe that imagery from a memory bank. Roar. Mom says me and Rory need to start thinking about what we do when we grow up. And start planning for the future now. She said when you're a kid, you should do as many things as you can to find out what you like so that later you'll be focused on. I already know what I want to do for my area. I'm planning on being a video game tester when I grow up. The way I see it, I've been training for that job ever since I was old enough to hold a controller in my hand. But whenever I tell Mom my plan, she doesn't seem excited about it. Black, pow, pow. Mom says I should set my sight higher, become an engineer or a doctor or something like that. She said if I just play video games all day, I don't take school seriously, I'm gonna end up being a garbage collector. First of all, the only doctor I know is a paramedic, Dr. Higgins, and I can see myself spending the rest of my life sick just as muckus out of a little kid's nose. And second, being a garbage collector seemed like a pretty sweet deal to me. The guy who collects our trash should get to be outside every day and crack the music really loud. So if the video game testing thing doesn't work out for me, garbage collector seemed like a good fallback plan. When I was little, Mom always told me I could be anything I wanted when I grow up. I didn't want to out until later on. She was just taking about jobs. I thought I could literally be anything. Mom always saying we have a lot of brains in our family, and that's one of great aunt helped invent a cure of a disease way back then. Wait for me, I should go out. Okay, so now let's get start back. But trust me, we have got a lot of real dummies in our family too. Just last week, my Uncle Gary cut down a big branch that was overhanging his driveway, and he ended up breaking his collarbone. With people like Uncle Gary in my Jane pool, it's a miracle, and I can even tie my own shoes. But Mom always saying I can do great things if I put my mind to it. Albert Sandy says human beings only use 80% of our brain, and if I can tap into the other 20%, we can do amazing things. And I am really cold too, and I'm pretty mad too, and I don't really like it. If I'm the only who figured out how to tap into that extra 20% though, I'm keeping that knowledge to myself, because if you have all of these people going around using their brain at a full time, compactly, it's gonna be totally bananas. Kaboom! On Wednesday, Mom been trying to get Rorik excited about the college, and said it's time for him to get serious about looking into school. But Rorik still convinces Dan is gonna make it big, and that college is just a waste of time for a guy like him. I think Mom's starting to get a little worried, because now she's making Rorik research college for a half-hour day instead of doing chores. Rorik write a handful of school to ask for their brother Richard, and Mom get all excited when they came into the mail. But most of the college were dogs, which either Rorik didn't notice, or he thinks those might be the only school he has a chance to get him into. Since Mom can't get Rorik interest in college, she turned her attention to me. On Mondays, Mom took me to her school so I could see what the campus was like, and I have to admit, it was actually kind of cool. Mom said that college you can study anything you want, and all you need to succeed it in the curious mind. She told me that while she went to her class, I should explore the campus so I could get a sense of what it's like for students. I walked around for a while, but I felt like I didn't belong there. Eventually, I went to the library, and I just waited for Mom to be finished with her class. I started doing my homework, but I could tell that their college kids were wondering that some middle schooler was doing in the library. And that's when I remember hearing about the girl my age who's so smart. She's already in medical school studying to be a doctor. I figured if I made myself look really smart, I would look like I belong there. So grab a stack of think books about physiology of a nearest shelf and pretend I was really into them. A few minutes later, a girl pulled up a chair and started talking to me. The girl said I looked smart, so she wanted to know if I would be willing to tutor her for her physiology test. She had it later in the week. Now I don't know the first thing about physiology, but I really apparently like this only come up with once in a lifetime. I told her willing to tutor her the next day. When Mom came back for the class, I used her library card to check out every book to physiology I could find. And that night I studied like I'd never studied before. When the next day I rolled out, I asked Mom if she'd take me back to the college, and she seemed thrilled. I spent 2 hours helping that girl preparing for her test. And by the time we were done, I knew she got a good grade. But then this big guy came by who was apparently her boyfriend. And believe me, if I knew there was a boyfriend involved, I wouldn't have impaled me learning a bunch of useless information. If this kind of thing expected at college, I'm gonna have to pass. And by the way, I was right. What happened when you learn new stuff? I had a test on the world capital today, and I just couldn't remember a single one. On Monday, all anyone at schools can talk about these days is the Maria Muslim Halloween party, which is this coming Friday. But it's a little annoying for me because I won't getting an invitation. Marina parties are kind of ordinary because her parents don't care what goes on as long as they stay in the basement. Last year's party got totally out of control. It started off in the basement, but so many people show up that spilled out into the yard, and the cops came to shut it down. And that pretty big deal for middle school party. This year, Marina parents said she has to keep it small, so she's only inviting people who are in school band with her. That's bad news for kids like me who are hoping to get invited to this time around. Really gonna get invited though because he's in the band, but believe me, if he goes to a party like that, he's gonna be in over his head. I was thinking about this goal today when I got Jeannie's idea. If I join the band, I can invite to Marina parties. Tonight, when I told Mom and Dad I want to join the band, Mom was all for it. She was really excited. I wanted to challenge myself and try something new. But Dad wasn't crazy about the idea, and she said instruments are expensive, and he doesn't think I'll stick with it. But Mom said Rorik stuck with a drum, which I don't think really helped my case. Crash, smack. That's when Dad brought up the piano. Like 2 years ago, Mom saw me fooling around with one of those little electronic keyboards at the mall week before Christmas. I like it because I hit all these buttons, and that made different sound effects. Effects. I think Mom got a little overly excited. That was slowing interest in musical instruments because on Christmas Eve, a truck rolled up and delivered a full-size piano. Judging by that reaction, I don't think Mom checked with me before buying it. At first, I was excited about the piano, but when I realized it didn't make laser sound and stuff like that, I lost interest real quick. But Mom wasn't letting me give up so fast. She hired a lady named Mrs. French to come to the house and give me private lessons twice a week. Mrs. French knew her stuff when it came to piano, but I was a terrible student. The first problem was Mrs. French's teaching style. She sit right behind me on the bench and put her finger on top of my finger. That approach might work for some of Mrs. French student, but it definitely didn't work for me. Middle C, that's where my music itself. If I was gonna play the piano, I wanted to learn a cool song like the one you hear on the radio. But Mrs. French said I had to start with the basic, and she gave me a beginning songbook that looked like it was older than Mrs. French. All the songs on the thing were really corny, and it was hard for me to get into it. C, D, E with B. C, D, E, sing with me, sing with glee. I felt pretty bad because Mrs. French gave me homework every time she visited, but I never practiced it between lessons. So every time she came, I will have to start over with a C, D, E song, which mustn't have driven her nuts. Eventually, Mrs. French gave up trying to teach me anything. She just read the gossip magazine while I did my own thing. I went on like that for a month or two, but eventually Mom discovered what I was happening. That was the end of my private lesson. Bleep blop beep. Now the piano just like a giant piece of furniture taking space in the living room. I think Mom and Dad are still paying that thing off. So I kind of understand why Dad not eager for me to try new instruments. Luckily, Mama had my back. She said maybe that piano wasn't the right fit for me, and that sometimes the instrument need to find the person. She finally convinced him when she said that kid who played musical instruments to do better at math and go get better jobs. Half hour later, we were at a music store downtown picking an instrument. My number one recruitment for an instrument is that it makes me look cool. I saw a guy at Mom's college strumming a guitar outside the library, and he definitely had the right idea. Unfortunately, the guitar one of the instruments in a middle school band, so I had to pick something else. I had my eyes on the saxophone at first because with one of it's hard not to look cool. I learned that from Dylan Sloth, who practiced his during recesses. But there are way too many buttons at the thing. I knew I'd never get the hang of it. Mom suggested I took one of the French horn she used to play as a kid. The French horn looked cool enough, though only had 3 buttons, so I figured I could probably handle it. The shopkeeper pulled the French horn down off the horn and it's handed to me. But when Dad saw the price tag, he would break the whole thing. Dad said we should rent instead of buy because that would treat us a whole lot cheaper. Hey! Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just said to my baby sister to be quiet. Dad said we should rent instead of buying because that would be a whole lot cheaper. But all the real instruments were used. The kid who played the French horn in the school band last year for Joshua Lillard, and there was a country rental belonged to him. Mom and Dad got into an argument in front of everyone, and it was kind of embarrassing. Dad said we were spending too much money on something. I'll quit in 2 weeks. And Mom said he needed to show more faith in me. Eventually, Dad caved it, but before he swiped his credit card, he made me promise I'll practice every night. This thing better be as easy as it looked, because it feel like a lot's trouble to go through just to get invited to a Halloween party. When I was picking an instrument, I shouldn't put more thought into it. I was mostly thinking about Imagine, but there is other important horns too. It was pain in the neck bringing the French horn to school today because the case weighed. Because the case weighed almost as much as instruments. But when I saw Greater Buddy had to deal with, I felt okay with my choice. Drag. Everybody saw a little girl here is one of the smart girls in our grade, and it's easy to watch. She played the piccolo. She's not wasting any energy lugging our heavy instruments around. But George Giovanni might be even smarter than her. He's played the kettle drum, and those are too big to take home every night. So they stay in the band room full time. Boom, ba, boom, boom, boom. Sometimes I never really noticed before it's so most kids in the band actually kind of look like their instruments. I don't know if people do the purpose on or if it just act a coincidence. The great thing about the band is there are no tryouts or anything. Basically, if you buy an instrument, you show you're in. But I wasn't thinking all the way through when I picked my instruments. The French horn is in the brass section, and almost everyone in the brass section is a guy. The The mode 1 section is completely opposite. It's all girls except for the handful of guys, including Rolly. I really wish he'd given me a heads up about it, because that information would have been nice to know. Maybe Rolly didn't tell me on purpose, so I won't give him any competition. I noticed he sat right next to Macarena, Medeiros, and believe me, that's no accident. Tweet, toot, tweet, tweet, toot, tweet, toot. When class started, Mrs. Gazino told us we'll start warming up. That's when I remembered that my last favorite sound in the world, kids practicing their instruments. But Mrs. Gazino didn't seem to mind. She's regarding this year, so I think she already checked out. I sat next to the other kid who plays the French horn, Eben Pittman, who looked like he knew what he was doing with the way he moved his finger around. It seemed a lot more completely than I was expecting, but I figured I might as well give it a shot. I filled my checks with the air just like Eben did and blew into a mouthpiece as hard as I could, but the air didn't come out where I expected. Blap! As soon as it happened, everyone in the band just froze. Jake misses, goes to starting trying to sniff out who did it, because he got a weird talent for that sort of thing. Sniff, sniff. But if there's one thing you should know about me is that I have never taken blame from fart. I'll even throw my own mother under the bus, and I trust me I have. Who got the cheese in here? Fan, not me. The kids in the band were starting to look my way. I was already sweeting it, because if I gonna get invited to Marina Medeiros' Halloween party, my recruitment couldn't take a hit like this. Digging Muckle Grove was getting closer and closer, and I knew I was only a second away from getting independent, so I did what I had to and pinned into Garden Bundy. I didn't feel too bad because Garen has a ribbon of letting it rip in class. So the way I see it, the punishment for all the time he got away with one. So now I think it's enough for today, or just read one more story. I wish I could go back in time and pick a new instrument, because this French horn is no joke. The guy at the music store never mentioned that it's a left-hand instrument, and I'm righty. A left-hand instrument, and I'm righty. I thought it would be easy with the whole 3-button thing, but my left hand isn't strong enough to work it. Plus, the mouthpiece is tiny, and I can't get any air through it. So far, I haven't been able to squeeze out anything. That sounds been able to squeeze out anything. That sounds like a miserable note. Unfortunately, that doesn't help me with Dad. He wants to hear me practicing each night, like I promised him. Luckily, I found some video clips of high school girl practicing her French horn, so those videos are doing the trick, at least for how. Tweet, twat, tweet. This whole music instrument things might be a big waste of time. Anyway, Marina didn't invite the area band to her party tomorrow night. Just the woodwind section. That means if you play a brass instrument like me, you're out of luck. But when I realized I've got really part of the woodwind section, and if he's going, then I could just tag along. I can't just show up with him though, or I could get turned away at the door. So I figured out the way we make sure that doesn't happen. I realized that if I make myself part of Rolly's costume, that whenever he goes, I go too. That's now I came up with the idea of going to Head Monster. head monster. On the walk home from school, I told Rolly all about my plan. But Rolly said that he wanted to go to the party as a nice witch, and his mom was already working on his costume. See, this is exactly why Rolly needed me to go with him. I told Rolly if he went to party like this, dressed up as a witch, he'll never live it down at school. I think that made him kind of nervous. So he said he changed his mind and wanted to do two-head monster thing I had come up with. So tonight we got to work making the costume out of some sheets I found my Lincoln closet. When I asked permission before cutting them up, but she was really happy, and me, Rolly, were making something instead of playing video game like we usually do. I told her we were making two-head monster costume, and she thought that was a great idea for trick-or-treating. I told Mom the costume was actually from Marina Madizona Halloween party, and as soon as I said before last year's party, I was told to blow out, and everyone in our town heard about it. Mom was actually good with the idea. She said a party was a chance for us to branch out of a girlfriend circle. She said Mom was actually good with the idea. She said a party was a chance for us to branch out and grow our friends' circle. She said she'd been even happy to give us a ride. I'm just relieved she doesn't suggest adding another head to the costume, because believe me, that's exactly the kind of thing she would think of on Halloween. Well, I think it's enough for today, and goodbye. Tomorrow we're gonna read the Halloween party thing.